What if I told you that an NBA player you've never heard of, who was never an all-star and never won a single NBA championship, has a higher net worth than Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and just about every other NBA player in history? You probably wouldn't believe me, but it's true. Former Milwaukee Bucks small forward and shooting guard Ulysses Jr. Bridgeman has a net worth that is only beaten by 3 other NBA players: Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and LeBron James. But as we mentioned, Jr. was never an all-star player, nor was he ever on a championship-winning team. In fact, the most notable moment of his playing career was when he was used as a pawn in a trade that sent Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Bucks to the Lakers. So just how did this slightly above average NBA player gain such a high net worth? How did he turn low-paying NBA contracts into a $600 million empire? And who exactly is the richest NBA player that no one talks about? Here's his story. Early life and college. Junior Bridgeman was born in East Chicago, Indiana. His dad worked in a steel mill and his mother was a homemaker. Junior attended Washington High School, where he tried out for and barely made the basketball team. In his time there, Bridgeman and the Washington High School Senators were undefeated, going 29-0. Junior considered his options after high school as he kept a high GPA and didn't think he was good enough to make a career out of basketball. However, he was offered a scholarship to the University of Louisville and decided that he would pursue his basketball dreams. As a junior at Louisville, Bridgeman led the Cardinals to the 1974 NCAA Division I basketball tournament. And the following year as a senior, he took the program to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, eventually losing to UCLA, who went on to win the entire championship. He won the Missouri Valley Player of the Year award not once, but twice. Junior Bridgeman played in 87 games during his collegiate career at Louisville, averaging 15.5 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 2.7 assists. After earning his bachelor's degree, Bridgeman entered the 1975 NBA draft and was selected 8th overall by the LA Lakers. But just 3 weeks later, Bridgeman was sent to the Milwaukee Bucks as part of a package deal in return for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. NBA career. Throughout the majority of his career, Junior Bridgeman played the role of the sixth man. He was a rotational player who rarely started games but was efficient when coming into the game off the bench. He averaged double figures in scoring for 8 consecutive seasons in Milwaukee, with his highest points per game average coming in the 1979 season with 17.6 points. Many believe that if the Sixth Man of the Year award was created earlier, Junior could have been in contention to win it several times. After 9 seasons with the Bucks, he was traded to the Los Angeles Clippers in 1984. He spent just 2 uneventful seasons in Los Angeles before returning to Milwaukee for his final season in the league. He averaged 13.6 points for his career as a whole and played in 849 NBA games. Bridgeman still owns the Milwaukee franchise record for most games played at 711. He also had his number 2 jersey retired by the Bucks as a sign of respect for his length of service to the team and for being one of the best sixth men in team history. When Junior Bridgeman was in the prime of his career, he was earning just $350,000 a year. Back in the 70s and 80s, $350,000 was an average contract. It summed up his NBA career, really. It was relatively average and unremarkable. A player who we would certainly not be talking about if it wasn't for what he did when off the court. When he entered the league, Bridgeman knew he wouldn't be around forever, and the window for athletic success is short. He knew he would need a plan for when he could no longer cash checks from playing basketball. He recognized that 60% of NBA players struggle to maintain financial stability after retirement, so he put in the work to prevent himself from becoming a statistic. Bridgeman also believed heavily in having more than one income stream, so much so that he spent time in the offseason selling insurance at a local firm and working the front desk at a Howard Johnson. Venture into the business world. If you saw a former NBA player working behind the counter of your local fast food restaurant, you would think that they had hit hard times and were struggling financially. But that wasn't the case with Junior Bridgeman. Towards the end of his playing career, Junior decided to buy a franchise of the fast food chain Wendy's in Milwaukee, and while his teammates and other NBA players were spending their downtime doing God knows what, he spent his free time and off seasons working within the restaurant, learning the business from every angle. He was building a foundation for his future and making a start on his retirement plans. Bridgeman worked every role within Wendy's. He flipped burgers, mopped floors, and worked the cash register. There was a story that a woman once recognized Junior when he was working at Wendy's. She then got in touch with a local radio show, which spread a rumor that perhaps Junior was struggling financially. I wonder if she knows how that turned out. By the time Bridgeman retired in 1987, he owned 3 different Wendy's restaurants at the age of 33 years old. Junior was very curious about the business world. He was determined to make money and set his family up for wealth long after his basketball days. He was also the head of the NBA Players Union when he was in the league. That meant he attended many meetings with and had many contacts with the NBA team owners. He took advantage of this position by quizzing owners and trying to learn as much as he could from them to take into his future beyond basketball. Junior founded Bridgeman Food Incorporated and started to invest in and purchase more fast food restaurants. In 25 years of business and operations, Bridgeman Foods owned over 200 Wendy's restaurants and 120 Chili's franchises. He was one of the largest franchise owners in the country, a completely new meaning of franchise player. The former first-round draft pick could often be found working within the restaurants themselves. He refused to accept the wealth that he was creating just by owning the franchises. He was constantly looking for ways to grow and expand. The dedication he had whilst playing basketball back in Indiana certainly crossed over into the business realm. Bridgeman Foods was the second largest Wendy's franchisee. They employed over 11,000 people and reportedly made a profit of $500 million per year. But in 2016, Bridgeman decided to switch from food to beverages. He sold Bridgeman Foods Incorporated and traded Frosties for Cokes. When he bought his first Wendy's, it was still a hugely popular fast food chain. However, in this current day, it has expanded greatly, and now all in all, it would cost around $2 million to purchase a single Wendy's franchise. It's not known how much Bridgeman paid for his first restaurant, but the profit margin for selling would have been huge. Coca-Cola. Junior Bridgeman and Coca-Cola have a partnership that dates way back to Junior's days in the NBA. In his early career, Junior would volunteer at local basketball centers and programs which were sponsored by Coke. But the relationship became a proper one in 2017 when Bridgeman signed a deal with Coca-Cola to become a bottler and distributor for the company. Junior founded Heartland Coca-Cola Bottling Company and became the Coca-Cola servicer for Kansas, Missouri, and Southern Illinois. In doing so, he became just the 3rd new independent distributor to join the Coca-Cola family in decades. To this day, he remains the CEO of Heartland and is heavily involved in the day-to-day running of the company. He has now partnered with Canadian businessman Larry Tannenbaum to acquire Coca-Cola's Canadian distributor, Coca-Cola Refreshments Canada. The move will further expand Junior's bottling and distribution empire and will generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Recently, Junior Bridgeman's net worth has been calculated at $600 million. It puts the former NBA player among the top 5 most wealthiest former athletes. Bridgeman is an incredibly smart individual. From the moment he entered the NBA, he knew it couldn't last forever, especially back in the 70s when even the top players in the league were unable to ride off into the sunset with their earnings. He spent time learning his craft, took business lessons from people around him when he could, viewed his franchises from every angle, and slowly but surely created his business empire. Junior Bridgeman may not have the accolades from the court that he would have once dreamed of, but his accomplishments in the business world have more than made up for it. He has earned a Wendy's Founder Award as well as the Junior Achievement Business Hall of Fame. He has also been listed as one of the top 20 richest Black Americans by Forbes. From an average NBA player to a business leader, Bridgeman has used smart investments and hard work to become one of the best entrepreneurs in NBA history. Did you know who Junior Bridgeman was before this video? Or are there any other former NBA players who have made a life outside of the sports world? Let us know in the comments below. Junior Bridgeman may well be considered one of the greatest entrepreneurs in the NBA, but he sure isn't in the running for the greatest player of all time. That's reserved for LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and others alike. But who is the GOAT? Watch here to see what NBA legends and players think.
Yeah.